butts, boobies, and gambling? Count me in. I hope my parents don't see this. Hello everyone, I'm that anime theorist, and are you looking for some more risky and fun ways to invest your hard-earned money? Well, welcome to the world of fan service. Welcome to the world of Keijo, the only sport that promotes fighting with your boobs and butt. But we aren't simple-minded cavemen anymore, guys. As with the rise of sports betting, we have become distinguished gentlemen. Betting on horse races, football games, MMA fights, and finally, today of all days, professional Keijo matches. So that's why today we're going to be learning some tips and tricks for all you sports betting fanatics on how to push the odds into your favor when betting on your favorite Keijo matches. To start, much like betting on sports like soccer and horse racing, we need to have a basic understanding of the game before we can make a properly informed bet. Keijo, which likely draws some inspiration from WWE, features 6 female competitors on a customized floating platform, or land, with the primary objective of knocking off your opponents until one remains. Of course, as you're already well aware, physical contact with another player is restricted to exclusively their hips and chest. See, look mom, I didn't even say, but if a competitor makes contact with another part of the body, this will be considered an illegal move and will be disqualified. After 2 incidents, professional Keijo players can land themselves into a 6-month ban from official matches. But typically, normal knockouts occur when either a player falls off the land or falls onto the land. The match rankings are then in order of who fell last, with the first to fall off in last place and the last one remaining on the land in first place. To take a step back, despite continuously calling Keijo a match, it's actually considered a race. But why is this such an important distinction? Well, despite Japan's heavy restrictions on sports betting, most races are considered exempt from this ruling, including horse, motorcycle, bicycle, and motorboat races, so long as the betting system is operated and self-regulated by the Japanese government. More importantly, this will significantly influence how we're betting on Keijo races, as race-style betting, specifically that of Japan, uses a particular style of betting that will make it more difficult to bet on compared to your typical American sports. For instance, standard online betting services will function on a fixed odd betting system. Essentially, fixed odd wagers are calculated based on the odds of the event occurring, with a security that once the bet is made, it will never change. So if you think Sukuna can get more than 28 points at the next anime basketball championship, as long as you put in a bet of $100 and the odds are 2-to-1, no matter how many other people bet, or if the odds for future bettors shift, the bet that you made will remain at 2-to-1. Meaning that when Sukuna manages to score 30 points, if you put in $100 at 2-to-1 odds, you'll receive $200. The primary advantage of this betting system is that it's very easy to determine the potential payout, as the odds won't change. Unfortunately, we will not get that same level of certainty, as Japanese race betting uses paramutual wagers. Unlike fixed betting wagers where the wager is based on the odds of the event occurring, paramutual wagers is based on the total betted amounts for that specific outcome. So the more people betting on that outcome, the lower the payout will be if that event occurs. Because of this fluctuation, the betting service will typically not provide the odds before betting is closed. Going back to our Sukuna example, if you place a bet claiming Sukuna, the dunk master, can score more than 28 points, not only will you have initial uncertainty in your odds, but your odds could turn out to be significantly lower due to other people betting on Sukuna as well. So as much as it pains me to say it, Keijo will likely use paramutual betting. Thankfully, I've developed 3 powerful tips that you can use to gain an advantage when betting on your next Keijo match. That being said, this is not professional advice and should not be treated as such. That anime theorist is not liable if you use these methods and lose betting on Keijo or any other sport from anime or manga. Now with that, let's get into it. The first might seem a little bit obvious, but researching players is critical. While they may provide you with some information of the players at the races, be sure to conduct additional research, as the betting services might not give you all the information. And for that, I've compiled a list of some of the most valuable statistics that you'll need when making an educated bet on a Keijo player. And I know you want to get to the final 2 tips, so please stay with me for a little while longer, as the last 2 tips involve specific gambling strategies. The first stats I recommend looking into are the percentage of races won and the percentage of races in the top 3, specifically looking into the ranks of the players they have beaten. If they have a high percentage of races won, but only to low-ranked players, little trust has been established. But if they're consistently taking down higher and higher ranked players, that's a different story. My surprising second most important stat is if they're competing against other women who are part of the same Keijo branch. Unlike in horse or motorboat races, you can team up with a fellow Keijo player. Therefore, people who have trained together or have a long history will often collaborate to eliminate their competitors. The next most important stat is their win percentage against different types of players, which includes in-fighter, out-fighter, and counter-fighters. In the same way as boxing, there are different fighting styles in Keijo, and despite most fighters' best efforts, they typically have a style that they're normally weaker against. The last and least important stat to look out for is the land preference of the fighter. Lands can have varying landscapes, which can significantly hinder a player's ability, as some courses can be unreasonably unstable or extra slippery. Some players may also perform better in certain land types due to their abilities. Now, with all that knowledge in hand, you have a pretty good idea on who to bet on. But how should you bet? Let me introduce you to arbitrage betting. Often called a sure bet, arbitrage betting involves betting on two or more services using calculated bets to ensure that you always come out with a profit. While it's typically done in more simpler scenarios where there's only one winner and one loser, like in most team sports, it's still possible to make the calculations when there are 6 potential winners, like in Keijo. Now, you should be dubious of this approach, because even if we receive the odds when betting, paramutual wagers ensure that we can't rely on that information. So then, what should we do? Well, using your knowledge gathered earlier from the statistics of each player combined with the initial odds provided by the betting service, you can make more reasonable assumptions on how to skew your bets to turn a profit. Keep in mind, for this to work, you will need to bet on all of the players. So this method does involve greater risk, as the odds are not a sure thing. Which leads me to my final and genuinely most unethical recommendation, which I call the con man. If paramutual betting's payouts are based on how much money is wagered on a particular player, what is stopping you from making public claims in person or on the internet that a specific player has been injured before the match? While this may seem silly, the only limitations to this are how much work you put into it. You can go as far as to establishing blogs or creating Keijo player websites to decrease public trust of that player. Again, this is not only unethical, but it is most definitely illegal. But if we're going to talk about a fictional world with a fictional sport, I'll allow myself to commit a fictional crime just this once. And with that, you've become a professional Keijo gambler. As a parting gift, feel free to take a fictional $100 before you leave for all your future gambling. And remember everyone, stay curious.